Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Zoom meeting about how to run for a public office. I welcome you all. This program is recorded as well, and it will be on YouTube channel. The channel is Center for Pluralism at YouTube. If it is Sunday, it is time for pluralism. Every Sunday between 12 and 1:30. Pluralism is defined as respecting the otherness of the others. Every Sunday, you get to hear programs on politics, religion, culture, and societies. And every second Sunday, it is about political pluralism, that is today. This program is jointly presented by the Center for Pluralism and the Virginian Muslim Political Action Committee. We invite Democrats, Republicans, and independents to join us and inspire the next generation on how and why they should run for public office. The Center for Pluralism, a nonprofit organization, it is a 501c3. You can donate, and the donate button at the Center for Pluralism.com website. This video will be posted on the website, YouTube. Our channel is Center for Pluralism. Next Sunday, the 19th, you will enjoy the Desi golden oldies and golden melodies, that is Indian and Pakistani songs at 8 p.m. Just go to the workshop tab at the Center for Pluralism and you see the links and details. And that is cultural pluralism. On Sunday, the 20th, we have a program on 30 rights of Muslim women in Islam. 30 rights of Muslim women in Islam. And all our bios are on the website Center for Pluralism. In the search box, type how to be a good politician, and you will find the information about this program. Now, I will introduce Dr. Arjuman Hashmi, three times mayor of the city of Paris in Texas. I have visited him in Paris, Texas, and he has given me a good tour of the town and the accomplishment he has made over a period of time, including the bringing some major companies to use the water available in Paris, Texas. Dr. Hashmi is a 53-year-old Republican, took a more circuitous path to become mayor of Paris than most of his good old boys predecessors. He was born in Karachi, a bustling port city on the Arabian Sea. He and raised in Abu Dhabi, where his father, a Pakistani Air Force officer, served as a defense attaché to the military of the United Arab Emirates. After graduating from the American Community School of Abu Dhabi, Dr. Hashmi returned to Karachi to attend Dow Medical College. After 8 years in New England, he relocated for his first job in Tampa, Florida, which sounded more like Abu Dhabi for him. And he also was a liaison at the MacDill Air Force. There he befriended American generals, including Tommy Franks. By the way, it was the same Air Force base where General Schwarzkopf came from. In 2006, the hospital administrator in Tampa Bay tapped Dr. Hashmi to revamp the cardiology department at Paris Regional Medical Center. Drawn to Dallas Sterling Public School, his wife Rizma and three school-age sons opened opted to move to a mansion in Highland Park, which is the most prestigious neighborhood in Dallas, Texas, 100 miles from Paris. Dr. Hashmi, first you go, and we ask you to share in about 5 minutes why you ran for the mayor and what impact you had on the city and why you were elected three times. Go ahead.
Thank you for such an elaborate description. I'm probably not worthy of all what you have said. But anyway, I'll start by a little quotation from Henry Longfellow, and that is very interesting and it's good to remember. And that he said that heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, toiled upwards in the night. That has been an inspiration for me throughout my life. But as to the precise question that you've asked, the answer is the love for the people, the desire to do service for your community, and to try to change the status quo and bring about improvement are the major factors that led me to run. Now, there were specific instances which made me decide to actually run at the time when I ran. And one of those instances was that there was a major company that was in Paris and that shut down. And I felt that the city council, our local government, did not do anything to prevent that from happening. About 750 people lost jobs at that time, just around Christmas time. And I felt that more should have been done. I
You're talking
tried to
about
reach
city of
our council
Paris.
member in city of Paris. Yeah. And I tried to reach the local council member who was responsible for our area to discuss the matter. I really didn't get a call back from her till the day I signed up to run for the seat. And then I obviously heard about it. So it was interesting. But I think the major thing that whoever is running in the election, must remember, and that is it is community service, and that's what it should be treated as. Now, having said that, I am a human being, and I'll acknowledge the fact that the rush that you get on winning an election is just amazing. But one should still not forget one fact, and that it is a temporary position. You are there for a period of time, and if you want to work hard and leave your mark, um, that is the more important part about it. Do not feel that the seat belongs to you, because times change, things change, you make mistakes, and you can get as easily unelected as you may have when you got elected.
So there is
Now,
no lifetime
one other
mayor.
thing that
So there is
I'm
no
sorry,
lifetime mayor.
there is no lifetime mayor. Neither does one want to be a lifetime mayor, quite honestly. So there is one other thing that I will tell you. I'll start with an answer in a little different direction, in the sense that you asked me that, how did I remain the mayor or how did I get re-elected 3 times? And though I'm a Muslim, I went to a Catholic school, and I did read the Bible, and I do have some knowledge of the Bible. So I will tell you what is the important thing when you are in the office to remember. And that is really summed up very well in Micah 6:8, which says, act justly and walk humbly and show mercy, have mercy. And if you have those 3 qualities, the likelihood that you will keep getting re-elected becomes significant. Now, that does not mean that you don't work. You work hard and you make changes. And so the changes that I brought about, and I'll try to be as brief as I can, and then you can ask me questions on it. Most local governments work on 3 things: health, safety, and quality of life. So as far as the health is concerned, in our community, we had a health department, which was in an asbestos-filled building. The roof used to leak, and there were all sorts of things that you have used to happen. And what I did was, with the help of the community members, and without actually even spending the city's fund, we acquired a new building. We created not only a new health department, but we updated our health department with all sorts of new equipment, with new director, as well as we created a women's shelter there. And so that went very well. And along the same lines, as far as safety is concerned, till I became the mayor, the fire trucks in the city, they were 18 and 20-year-old fire trucks. There were 4 trucks, 3 of them didn't work. And that was a very, very, the minute I realized it, which was very early in my mayorship, it was a terrible thing to think that your house would be on fire and the fire truck that comes doesn't work. And so, um, and fire trucks were expensive, but what we did was we allocated funds to the fire trucks. We got new fire trucks. Similarly, as far as health is concerned and safety is concerned, the water lines in the city, and I think I showed it to you when you were there, the water lines in the city used to break down constantly. They were 100 years old and nobody had changed the water lines. And so one of the major priorities that I had was I arranged and did a $45 million bond with the help of other members of our council. And what we ended up doing was we started changing water and sewer lines. And it was not just that we spent the money, there was a lot of savings actually, because every time a portion of the pipe would burst, the repairs of that line would cost far more than what we felt was if we were to change the lines. So what ended up happening was we changed the lines and we saved enormous amount of money which was being done on repair works, with the result that we didn't raise taxes on it. Similarly, there were other things that we did. We did new road development. We had a $10 million bond where we did new road development. One of the important things were there were portions of the town which had dilapidated homes, and the way the city had to work on those was that those homes the city used to give $2,500 to a demolition company to demolish homes. So what we did was we came up with an innovative way. We went to the local banks and we said that if the city would guarantee $2,500, which was the money that we were using for demolition, if the banks would give a $5,000 loan to the people to renovate the homes from the outside so that the homes look much nicer, what it would do is that we wouldn't need to spend $2,500 on demolition. So we saved money on that. Everybody who got that $5,000 loan from the bank returned the loan, and we had homes which not only did we not need to spend money on demolition, but we saved funds from there, which was an enormous amount of money. Similarly, on small things, I'll give you an example. Prior to my time as being the mayor, what used to happen was that the city council agendas used to be published, and there were gobs and gobs of paper that were published, and then the police officers would take them and deliver it to the mayor's house and deliver it to all the council members' house. So what we did was we changed our record system to an electronic system so that all council members had iPads. They had to download their own agendas, and you would not imagine that just by doing that, we saved over $300,000 in yearly funds, which were being wasted on printing paper and having a person deliver and having a person print. So
Friends, this is
these
what you
small
can do.
numbers and
Friends, this is
yeah,
what you can do
absolutely.
as a mayor of a town, and you are looking at hearing the impact Dr. Hashmi had made on the city of Paris in Texas. Dr. Hashmi, continue, please.
Yeah. Then the other two things which we felt were a big problem was that, the city hall, people hated going to the city hall because they felt that whenever you want to go and get a permit, that there were more people against them than for them. And so we had to I had to really cultivate a new culture in the staff, in the sense that to remember the fact that your salaries are being paid by the same people who live in that town. So it is better to be nice to those people rather than be mean, and to try to solve their problems with a more positive response to their permits. And I'm not saying start issuing illegal permits. If something is not right, something's not right. But the thing about it is, if a person can be helped, then they should be helped in getting the permit rather than the life being made more difficult for them to get the permit. Similarly, we tried our best to make the city more business friendly. And when I say business friendly, we tried to give incentives on tax abatements. We tried to offer energy, low cost energy. We tried to help in transportation costs. The city had an impact fee for any truck coming in and going out of town. We tried to help that. And then one of the most important things was there were large employers in town, and we tried our best to keep those employers very happy, so that not only would those businesses not shut down, but they'd bring additional lines of, like for that matter, Campbell Soup. At one point, Campbell Soup was shutting down. We went back to them and said that, what can we do to make you bring more lines, which was a kind of a shock to them to say when they're wanting to shut down. But what ended up happening is, by the means that we tried, we ended up having them bring more lines to the plant, which was in Paris, than anywhere else. So, I mean, the list continues on, and I don't mean to brag about it, but these are small things but they have very long-term effects. And really the one other thing which will be my advice to whoever wants to run is short-term goals are very important because you want to show something that you have done during that period of time while you are in the seat, occupying that seat. However, please do not forget the fact that the most important thing, if your idea of running an election is to improve the community, is to have a long-term vision. People go in for short-term gains and forget the long-term vision. You've got to have a long-term vision of what you want your city to look like 20 years from now, not
Yeah.
just the 2 or 3 terms that you do. So
Talking
anyway,
about
that's the gist of it. And if you have any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer.
absolutely, since you mentioned the long-term goals, you had a vision to possibly run for the governor of the state of Texas. As a Republican, could you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So, so the answer to that goal is that you need to learn how to crawl first, then walk next, then run after that. If you want to run before you start learning how to crawl, that fails. And so I've done the crawling part, I'm doing the walking part, and we'll see when the running part comes.
What does it take for the running part?
What it takes for the running part is, number one, you should be able to show how you have performed and that you're really sincere about the fact that you love your community and that you are sincere about the fact that what you promised you delivered. And I promised that I would not raise taxes in spite of $55 million of bond money, and I did not raise taxes, though people said that I was going to lie and taxes would be raised. But on the contrary, by doing certain things, not only did we not raise the taxes, but we decreased the taxes. But now the answer to your question is, so your previous things that you have done for the community are very important. After that, obviously these days, running an election requires funding. And for that, particularly the bigger the office, the bigger the amount of funds required. And so you need to have a base of people. And when I say base of people, you cannot just have a base of, if you are a Muslim or a Hindu or Christian or whatever, based on religion or based on the fact that you belong to some ethnic small group. Ethnic small groups do not win elections based on your ethnicity. You have to acquired the major votes, and the major votes of 80% of population is still the white population. And you need to be sure that you have done things to satisfy them and to take their reservations out. For that matter, I'll give you an example. When I first ran the election, the very first time, one of the things that was being said was that, he is a Muslim guy and he's going to open mosques or bring Sharia law. And people asked me questions. So instead of getting upset about them, they were very simple answers. And the simple answers are, well, you don't build churches by city funds. So why would you build a mosque by city funds? Number two, you have a good legal system in place. So why would you want to change that legal system and now start introducing Sharia law, which doesn't satisfy majority of the population? The majority of the population still not the population that believes in Sharia law. So why do you want to make those changes that are disturbing to people? The purpose there is not to disturb the community. The purpose is to take everyone with you and improve on the community, and that's what should be done.
Perfect. So, when are you going to sprint and announce to run for the governor of Texas? I will be there for you.
When it's the appropriate time.
Alia, you have some questions?
Well, I want to make some comments first. Dr. Hashmi, it's been a pleasure listening to you. The objective of this program is to encourage, motivate, and empower people, especially the working class progressives, to run for public office. And I think you just totally met that goal. You said, like the three things to keep focused on is the health, safety, and quality of life of the people that you're serving, and always, keep the long-term goals, vision in mind, and kind of like put people first, which is the winning strategy. And we really appreciate all the achievements that you did, the wonderful examples that you gave. very impressed. I think you are a really great role model for people who want to run, to follow some of the things that you have said. And Mike, are we going to do question and answers at the end, kind of with everyone, or are we going to do separately?
At the end.
Okay.
At the
Okay.
end.
So then I hand it back to you to introduce our next guest.
Sure. Dr. Hashmi is also the personal doctor for Dr. Pervez Musharraf, President Pervez Musharraf. Whenever he came to the United States, he stayed in his house in Highland Park. Is that right, Dr. Hashmi?
Yeah, I don't tend to talk about patients, but all patients are the same. Some may be presidents and some may be janitors. For me, they're all the same. We take care of them as patients, and it doesn't matter what your profession is or what your position is. When we talk as physicians, we are supposed to take care of everyone equally, and so that's what we do.
Thank you, Dr. Hashmi.
I applaud you. I just want to like give a round of applause to Dr. Hashmi. You know, you keep grounding us, and you keep grounding the people like who want to run, to make sure that again, like they act with justice and they stay humble. So absolutely, you know, those should be the focus points, and not that, hey, I'm going to get rich, or I'm going to get to know more people, you know, who are in the community, or I'm going to be in the circles with these high level people. Those should not be the goals of someone who wants to run. And
Yes.
I really appreciate you, you know, grounding us in the principles. Thank you so much.
Now I will introduce Puneet Ahluwalia is a good friend of mine. For about 4 or 5 years, we are working together at the International Religious Freedom group that we have been a part of. And he's been a very active participant there also. Puneet is the president of New World Strategies based in McLean, Virginia. He specializes in assisting companies and organizations on navigating issues with various US federal and state agencies. He is a strong advocate for religious freedom and minority rights, and I have been with him on those issues. Puneet is the executive director of the South Asia Minorities Alliance Foundation. He works with the chairman of the organization to highlight concerns of religious and ethnic minorities of South Asia, that is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. He works closely with the International Religious Roundtable members. He has expertise in coalition building and messaging, combined with a strong background in understanding the complexities of international affairs. Among his many accomplishments, Mr. Ahluwalia regularly contributes articles on South Asia issues. He is the founder of the Proud American PAC in state of Virginia. The goal is to elect conservatives to various offices with an emphasis on engaging with large, successful, growing companies. He is, Puneet Ahluwalia, is candidate for Lieutenant Governor of the state of Virginia this 2021. And we welcome Democrats. We had the Democrat person running for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia last month. Now we have a Republican running, and also a possible governor in a few years. That is, Puneet, go ahead and state in about 5 minutes why you ran and what impact you are going to have on the state of Virginia, and followed by a few questions from me and Alia. Puneet?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And it was a complete delight to listen to Dr. Hashmi, or Mayor Hashmi, who's done incredible, creative, commonsensical, good governance in the state of Texas, especially Paris. I think it's the same calling we all have, is to do good, make a difference. And this is our home. I've been here 30 years, been part of the Republican Party for 20 years. And then earlier this year, I saw the direction the state had changed, which was more towards democratic control. And as a staunch, proud conservative, I believed that it was in the wrong direction. And then we saw the diktats from the governor, which were coming down. And furthermore, after the tragic death of George Floyd, I felt all the more reason that it's important that as a large, successful community, which we are in Northern Virginia, it's important to connect it to the rest of Virginia. So seeing the things, the way the direction was going, I have been involved on the grassroots level. And as I do political advocacy, I have a lot of great friends who are former elected leaders and still in office. I think there was a need for the successful, more importantly, is commonsensical ideas. And I believe in, as I see, here's a very prime example, the Asian American, South Asian American community, or largely the Asian American community. And I kind of expanded, all the immigrants who come to this great country have a great dream. And I think if everybody has a chance to come to the United States, they'll come. And that's the reason I also formed the Proud American PAC. And because I'm proud of the country and what it attracts and has to offer, the opportunities which are fundamentally offered to everyone, not guaranteed success, but opportunities, the level play field, that is, and doesn't matter what your ethnic background is. So seeing on those issues, and also I saw the creeping socialism and the conditioning of the American people, especially the state of Virginia, that was very bothersome. And I saw the taxes which are going up, the fines which are being imposed, and our way of life is being challenged. And I have, in the last 3 or 4 months, I've been basically going around the whole state. And in fact, yesterday I was on a 7-hour trek around Virginia. So it has given me a first-hand concerns what the Virginians feels, what's important to the success of Virginia. And I want to bring those commonsensical values back and make Virginia great for every Virginian, every American who comes, does business, and make it pro-business. And I think there's a huge opportunity for the Republican Party to really win back. We haven't won in the last 11 years. And I believe if we come up with commonsensical ideas, as very much highlighted by Dr. Hashmi, and that's what we conservatives believe in. It's not keep adding taxes, keep penalizing success, and at the same time, people who don't work hard and don't contribute, we should take care of them. I don't say we shouldn't, but it's important for them to also play their role, because we all are dependent on each other. So with that important emphasis, I felt it was important. And again, there are certain things which are important: quality education, jobs, ability to do whatever job you choose to do, and you should have the ability to get the talent. And now also the education emphasis is very important. We want the schools to be open, and also importantly is to expand the broadband in the rest of Virginia so that people can take advantage of. We can easily say, well, we'll create some green jobs and we'll do this, but at the same time is, have we given the resources to the people of our state in regards to be able to take advantage of that and make things cost effective? During this pandemic, and I've been part of the 2007 and 8 financial meltdown, I realized such an important impact it's going to take in reviving the economy, and people will be under a lot of duress. But a hardworking immigrant like me who came here 30 years ago can rebuild and reestablish himself. This only in America. And that's one reason also I'm running.
Puneet, what is the single most impact you had from your work in the past that would qualify you to run for the lieutenant governor?
I believe that as a small business person, I have seen various facets of business, how it is so important. And right now, especially after the pandemic, as I said, my experience, all of my experience kind of helps me on issues. You take it from the constitutional issues, religious freedom issues, Second Amendment issues, pro-life issues, and most importantly, the business issues. And I saw the over-regulation and the under-regulation that kill my businesses. And right now I see a lot of small businesses are pretty much at the mercy of the policies which are coming down. By increasing the minimum wage, you're going to completely kill the small businesses, especially the convenience store businesses in Virginia. And then by having taking away the right to work, it's going to close down all the hotel motel business. And I'm looking at small businesses, which is the backbone of our country, especially our state. And that's where a lot of jobs are being created. And at the same time, you are trying to hold a business owner responsible for the employee or the customer giving the COVID virus. Some kind of senseless what do you call, policies which are being coming down the Democratic leadership, it is very hard. And I believe it is also mentally conditioning the people. And especially, I'll take one commonsensical thing is defunding the police. Right now, I've spoken to a lot of police officers. The idea is they've been just told to stand down. They're very demoralized. And even if people who have no tail lights, they cannot be stopped because you know what they're concerned about? They don't want to get sued back. So what it is tomorrow when you're going to dial 911 and police doesn't show up, what are you going to do? And at the same time, when looting and rioting happens, it's a way to express yourself. That's unfair. We used to see this. This is what we left and came to this great country. The
Sure.
rule of law was so important.
Friends, you're listening
Anyway, I
to
can go.
Puneet Aluwala. He is the candidate for Lieutenant Governor of the state of Virginia. Earlier, you heard Dr. Hashmi, he's 3 times mayor of the city of Paris in Texas, and he is looking to run for the governor of Texas. And we will also meet Pius Ali in a few minutes. And this program is brought to you by the Center for Pluralism and the Virginia Coalition. And this will be posted on YouTube at the Center for Pluralism channel. All you have to do is go to YouTube and type in Center for Pluralism, and you will have this video there. And Puneet, please continue and tell us what are the 2 things that you will do for state of Virginia for the people to elect you as the Lieutenant Governor.
Ask a
First thing is
question.
that, Alia, go ahead, please.
Sure. Thank you, Puneet, for your introduction and, for your desire to help the people. That's very inspiring. What I wanted to know before you answer the question, Dr. Mike said, if you would please share with us what in your lifetime, right, especially being an immigrant, that the difficulties that you have gone through in life, and how can you relate to people that you are going to be serving? So I think that is really important to make the personal connection and, understanding what people are going through currently in this pandemic. People are being evicted. People don't have health care, right? So all these things, like you mentioned about the small business, right? Also, so that's one of them. But like more importantly, directly, how people are being hurt, right? They have no unemployment, they have no help, they have no aid. There's a lot of people who are left behind. So what have you in your life, experienced these some of these difficulties? Please share and how you overcame them.
Very good question. I think my inspiration came in 1984, right, when I saw the Sikhs being targeted on the streets of Delhi and all over India, and then they were killed and hacked. Same thing happened in September 2001 when Veer Singh Sodhi was killed in Arizona, and I realized that our success, it also makes us a target. And here he was a hardworking man. So I stood up, and that's the reason why I enjoy working with Mike, because we believe in religious freedom and minority rights. So my fundamental and my core comes from what I am and who I am. And that's the reason very strong in religious freedom. And we are working very hard, not only to get people out of difficulties in not only in the United States, but also in South Asia. Hence the reason I work very closely on those issues. Be it a Hindu, Christian, Muslim, doesn't really matter. For me, you're a human being, and you're a good human being, and you're doing God's work, or whatever work you are chosen to do. Believe in God or not believe in God, that's entirely up to you. And that's what protects us in the Constitution. The other thing is I used to deliver pizzas, and my wife and I, when the financial meltdown happened, the challenges which people are facing right now, as you said, despite the support that has been given from the government on meeting your payroll and the PPP that's come down. I think still a lot of people have huge issues and concerns, and I have gone through those. I had 26 real estate properties. I had 180 employees, and then it went down to completely zero. I never wanted to go back to school. So those emotional anxieties, the stress I have gone through, I had to take care of the banks. I had to get those issues solved. And you know what kept me going strong? My family, my faith, and few friends who stood by me in those trying times. And that's the reason why I felt is that if as this immigrant who can come here, deliver pizzas and work hard and achieve the American dream and then fall flat on his face, and if he can come and rebound himself only in this great nation because of the equal play field that exists here, it is important that I stand up during these pandemic times to give a sign of hope to people that you can do it as I did it. And hence the reason commonsensical leadership is so important, and empathetic person who understands the pain of the people, and especially being an immigrant, I understand this firsthand. And that's one other reason why I chose to run. And then as you said, I'll give you one more instance. You know, a lot of people kind of disagree with me on the guns issues. I believe if the Sikhs had the guns in India at that time, they would be able to protect themselves. And I believe every immigrant, every minority, if they have the ability to protect themselves and their community, it's the ability. Till you have a right to protect yourself, you're a citizen. The moment they take away your guns, you're a subject. That's my take on it.
So thank you so much, Puneet. I appreciate you answering. It seems to me you have been totally blessed in your life. You really haven't experienced much of difficulties. Like, you know, like people, they're so sick and they cannot even go to get testing. They have no medical insurance. So have you been in a situation like that, or your family member that, you know, were so sick and they couldn't get treatment?
Well, again, I don't believe in hypotheticals. If I meet a lot of people, yes,
I understand. I'm just asking for your own personal experience with these difficulties that common people are going through. Like, have you gone through any of those difficulties? Have you like faced a situation that you were sick or your family members were sick and you didn't have health insurance to take care of it, or you had to be evicted and you didn't know what to do? Like, have you faced any of those, what people are right now going through? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Well, I was not given anything from anyone. I didn't get paid from my family member, anybody. I worked hard every day. Now let me finish that. Because I got up every day and worked hard and made sure I paid my bills and found ways to save money, as we all immigrants are very disciplined. Hence the reason it never came to that. And yes, it did come to that when Obamacare was dumped on me and my family and our business. We could not afford it. We had a choice. Either we run our business, meet our basic daily needs of paying the mortgage and feeding our kids and taking care of our daily house chore, or pay an obnoxious sum of $1,800 a month, which would not give us the entire coverage. And I've seen that. And I'll give you another important thing where my pro-life comes. My daughter was born with a heart defect. She had an issue where she had to have 3 open heart surgeries. So when you tell about going through emotional upheavals, yes, I have lived through a moment where I did not know if my child is going to survive. So I've gone through those emotional things, so I can empathize with people when they talk about pre-existing condition, because my daughter has that. So I had to check, but I worked hard for that. I saved for that. And that was a discipline that was given to me, and the community that we come from, that's kind of in our DNA.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And, you know, those opportunities that existed don't exist these days. I personally, let me share with you. I personally have been unemployed for about a year now, since last Christmas. And I have done so many interviews and you name it, right? And it's like, oh, sorry, the position closed. And now I don't even get unemployment anymore.
Well, I'm sorry.
So it's not that I'm not trying or I'm not working hard, but it's just the opportunity is not there. What do I do?
I'm so sorry about you, but I'll tell you, I was sitting down with last night with a board of convenience store owners, which have 1,400 stores, okay? And then there was another group of people who have almost 30 plus motels. This person has 30 motels in Virginia. Guess what? Because people are collecting $600 paycheck, unemployment, there's no reason for people to come back to work. They've been dying in the entire summer.
That's absolutely incorrect. And that's been over. Nobody's getting it, you know, forever. Like, I'm not even getting $1.
Well, I don't want to debate you, but I'm here to share what the people of Virginia, the hardworking people who wake up every day, who run small businesses, are facing on a daily basis. The hoteliers who are basically concerned about the right of work issue, the taxation issue, the penalization issues, they are concerned. And that's the reason I'm voicing and vocalizing those. I'm sorry you are not unable to get a job, but I guess there are a lot of people who are like you, who are going through some stressful times, and I empathize with that. But the fact of the matter is, if I can help, surely. That's the goal of a leader, is to find ways to help people. And that's what we're trying to do.
I think now you can go to Dr. Mike's question. It was like, okay, what are the 2 major goals? I believe was his question, that you want to help people.
my first, besides helping people, I want to help everyone who has issues. We can't solve all issues, but the first issue
How are
is
you
that
going
if
to
you,
help me?
well, the first issue is jobs. If you have a good job, your demeanor, your self-respect, your self, you start to learn, you enjoy, if you work and you enjoy what you do, you're able to get the passion out and you're able to do creative things. And most importantly, it also helps you with psychotic issues. And when I knew it when my business failed, I used to sit in front of television. I did not know what the hell I was going to do. That frustration and disappointment that existed, that I was smart. How could I fail? It happens. Life happens. What you do is only in this country, you roll up and then you basically get out of the ditch or you start working your way out of the ditch. That's one thing. So jobs is very important for me. And that's one. And second is education. I want to
How
make
are
sure
you
that,
going to make sure that people have jobs? Yes, jobs are important to you, but how are
ma'am,
you
you,
going to make sure I have a job?
well, it depends on your background and education. I'll tell you one thing. When I was in the financial field, I had to reinvent myself. I went from a mortgage broker and financial person into advocacy. And again, it all depends on you, what you want to choose and the direction you want to go. Hence the reason you have to reinvent yourself. And that's the great thing in this great nation is that you're able to reinvent yourself. So to attract jobs, you make it feasible to make this state as successful as possible. You pass legislation which is pro-business. So that means that you have to realize a business person like myself or most of our community look at opportunities. You buy one motel or one restaurant or one aspect things. If you're making money and your taxes are low, you can expand that business and go into various opportunities of creating real estate empire or a motel empire or whatever, whichever direction you want to go. So by keeping as a business friendly environment in a state, that's one way to do it. Then second is education. I believe that being right across Washington, D.C. and the technology sector is so successful here in the Virginia and Washington area is to create the future brilliant minds in various capacities of telecommunication, on IT, so that we can compete on the global stage. I know for a fact that South Asian kids are very bright. If they come here, they're going to be challenging our kids for the jobs. But my first focus is to create American jobs. That's the two focuses I have.
Thank you very much. And now, friends, you're listening to Center for Pluralism's program on how to run for a public office. You heard Dr. Hashmi, who is a mayor of city of Paris in Texas, and he's aspiring to run for the governor. And now you just heard Puneet Ahluwalia, who is a candidate for the as a Republican candidate for the state of Virginia. And we welcome Republicans, Democrats, and independents to the program. Now, this program will be on YouTube. All you have to do is type Center for Pluralism, and you will see on the YouTube. Now, I invite Pius Ali. He's the council person for the city of Portland in Maine. Pius Ali is the first African-born Muslim American to be elected to a public office in Maine. First to the Portland Board of Public Education, and then to at-large Portland City Council seat in 2016. I can relate with you. I was elected at-large commissioner at the city of Carrollton in Texas. Pius Ali was re-elected in November 2019, an assertive, pragmatic, and compassionate leader with a background in community organizing, activism, and civic engagement. Pius works as a youth and community engagement specialist at the University of Southern Maine's Portland Empower program. You can see the full bios of all the three individuals that we are talking at the Center for Pluralism. Just go to the link and you will see the detailed profiles. Now, Pius, tell us why you ran for the council and what impact you have made to the city.
Thank you, Dr. Gausu. And thanks to Mayor Hashmi, Dr. Mayor Hashmi and Brother Puneet for setting the platform for us to have this conversation. And thank you, Sister Alia for also helping us have this discussion. So, Mayor, thank you very much for mentioning Longfellow. He is from Portland, Maine. So it's almost always great to hear that a mayor from Texas do appreciate my fellow Portlander who and then use his words to start his conversation of all this kind. So as you said, I'm from Ghana, came to the US in 2000. I first lived in New York and then moved to Maine in 2002. And since I moved to Maine, my work has been with young people and communities, mostly in immigrant communities, getting people to understand the way the education system works and getting them to the parents and the families to be involved in their children's education. And I've worked with not just immigrants, but young people from all over the city. I've worked with kids who are incarcerated, who are in jail, trying to get them to understand the situation that they are in, and then to prepare them for when they are released from jail. I've worked with kids who are homeless, who are not just immigrants, kids from Northern Maine. I don't know if you all know, Maine is one of the whitest states in the union. We are also very rural, so there's a lot of poverty and a lot of challenges to families. And my work was focused and still focused around education, around building youth leadership development and getting young people to understand the opportunities that is available to them if they don't. And even if they don't know and they don't know how to access those opportunities, and I help them do that, and I work with their families. In 2013, I was approached by someone who asked me to run for school board, and I said, I'm not interested in politics. And the person said that, well, everything that you've been doing, you go into the schools, you push for change, you do this, you do that, that is politics. And I said, I was not interested in organized politics. So leave me alone. And then she said, why don't you go find someone? And I went around to ask people, and everybody looked at me as if I was crazy, asking them to run for office. I went back to her and she said, why don't you just try? And I said, okay. So I did run, and there were 2 seats open. And there were 6 of us running for those 2 seats. I got elected to 1. The unique thing about my campaign was I have never done anything around organized politics. I do organized protests. I do work with families and community members who need someone to speak on their behalf, whether it is to the city or to the schools. But my work with young people have gone outside the immigrant community, have gone outside the city of Portland. So during my campaign—
What is the demographics of your constituency?
Well, Portland is about 85% white. It's not any different from the state. And most of the immigrants who are here are from Somalia, Sudan. We have some Iraqis. We have the east coast of, how do we call it? The African East Coast, East African communities. We have a Latinx community. We have a few Middle Eastern here. And then we also have a few people from Southeast Asia.
What was your message that got you elected?
Well, the first one, since it was education, that is what I was doing for work. So I like, okay, I'm going to work on this education and make education better by building coalition, by bringing the community into the schools, by helping families and communities understand what is available to them, and by making sure that our education system is adequately funded. I will do all I can to make sure that our schools got all the support that they need to deliver the education that will prepare the future citizens of our city, our state, and our country for them to be able to compete against anybody in different cities, in different states, and in different countries. So that is what got me elected. What makes it more fun? Go ahead.
Friends, if you're passionate about seeing an America that values human rights and safeguards everyone's way of life, then now is the right time to make it happen. Dr. Ali is talking about how it was easy for him to run for office. If you have the passion, you can run and get elected. And continue, Dr. Pius Ali.
Yeah. So the young people that I work with, not just from my city, came to my city from half of the great, we call it Greater Portland area. So I will go to a neighborhood with about 25 to 30 high school students. They are knocking on people's doors saying that this guy here have helped us. He's our mentor. Can you support him? And that makes it more fun. I got elected in 2013, served on one term on the city council. In 2016, on the school board. In 2016, I decided to run for city council because there was an open seat. And why did I have to leave education? And when education is the focus of my, how do we call it, politics or public service, to run for city council, I realized two things. When on the council, you actually make more impact on education. The school board the council funds the school. The school board will make the, how do we call it, will make the budget and bring it to the council. And the council can say that we will support you or we cannot give you this much. So I did that. And I also realized that even when I was on the school board, because our community, by our community, I mean most people from the immigrant and the Muslim community do not have anybody in elected office. And so engaging the electoral system was a challenge. People who don't understand how the system works will come to me with an issue that is for city council. So that was one of them. And so I ran for city council and got elected. By the time that I got elected in 2013, I was the only, at that time, only immigrant and only Muslim in elected office. I was not the first to run, many have run, but I was the first to be elected. And then I motivated others. As I'm talking to you, there's about 12 to 13 immigrants across the state who have been elected to local municipal offices. And there's about I think there's 5 Muslims who have also been elected. And all this did not happen until after I got elected. I motivated with others. I volunteer and support others, both publicly and behind the scene, to direct them into this is what you need to do. Public office, as the mayor said, I agree with everything that the mayor have said around being humbleness. You are not a king. You are a public servant. You are elected by people because of the work that you have done or you promised to do in the community that you live in. You are there, you serve at the whims of the people that you serve. You are not there to show off your power. There's no power here. There is public servant, there's public service, there is you speaking for people in your community who don't have the voice. You are the voice of people who don't know how to speak for themselves or who don't have anybody that speaks to them. So those are some of the tenets of being in an elected office.
Let me ask you the last question. It is to aspire to encourage people who are aspiring to run for the public office like city council. What kind of money did you have when you put in your name?
Well, I think in our city, we are a small city of about 70,000 people. Running for office here is non-partisan. I am a registered Democrat, but I don't run as a Democrat or as a Republican or as anything. You run as a citizen of this community who want to serve your community. So it's non-partisan. And until recently, you don't have to raise a lot of money. People have run for city council with like $500. And then a few years ago, it became 15,000. By the time I ran, I have to raise 25,000. And the year that I ran, that 25,000 was the highest money ever raised for city council. That was in 2016. Last year and the past years, people have raised as far as 50,000 and more. Last year in 2019, when I ran for re-election, I ran unopposed because my electability rate is extremely high. People like the work that I do. People like the way I bring people who do not have the voice into city chambers and bringing city power into the communities that they serve. So yeah, but you need to raise money. I think each district and each jurisdiction is different. If you serve in a very big city that have a lot of money, then you're looking into hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here in my city, the highest amount that I've seen anybody raise for city council was 50,000, and for mayor, it's like 120,000.
What do you say to the young people, since you work with young people? What should they have in them to run for the office?
You have to have the ability and the desire to serve your community. If you cannot sit with any group of people to talk to them and listen to them, you don't have any right to represent them. It is not, elected office is not a badge of honor. It's a badge of public service. And also it is not for the, I say this thing all the time, anytime that I talk to people, that running for office and serving in public office is not for the faint-hearted. You should be able to take criticism and then reflect on it. You are not going to be right all the time. Anytime you raise your hand and vote on anything, it doesn't matter what it is, it impacts someone's life. So think thoroughly. Look at your personal principles and philosophy and political. Look at the general one. Look at how does it impact everyone else, not just you. Yeah.
Thank you. Friends, if it is Sunday, it is pluralism. Pluralism is respecting the otherness of the others. And every Sunday we have a program 12 to 1:30 on pluralism in culture, pluralism in politics, religion, workplace, and society. And today we are talking pluralism in politics. Alia, you have few questions for each one of our guests, and then we can ask a few members to ask the questions.
I just want to comment at the moment, and then we will open to everyone for question and answers. Want to thank Councilman Faiz Ali for sharing your experiences with us, and again, kind of centering the conversation back to being a service-minded person and putting people first. And also having the value of mentoring young people and teaching your communities about what are the resources available to them, because a lot of them don't know how the system works. So all of these things that you've shared, and especially I really like the last part you said about always be very careful when you vote. Really think how, because it does impact a lot of people, right? And so keeping that in mind. Thank you for sharing very useful and valuable information. And with that, I think we would like to open for question and answers for the attendees. Please, you can either direct your question to one of the guest speakers, or you can put the question, if you like, to say, hey, anyone, or for all of them.
Mike,
You can also write your question in the chat if you like, or just say that you would like to speak.
Dr. Hashmi, go ahead.
Yes. First of all, you had a great panel and very good people asking questions. So that was very impressive. Mr. Ahluwalia, I wish him all the success. I do want to say something about Mr. Ali, and that is that his vision is great. Absolutely a perfect person to get elected. And so congratulations to him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one thing I would like to tell Ms. Alia, one of the answers, she was asking Mr. Ahluwalia a question on creation of jobs. And this is just from experience that I will tell you. There are few ground realities that obviously all of us want jobs in the community, and we want to have more jobs in the community for our people. But there are few ground rules that one must remember on how to create jobs. So job creation requires, number one, why would anyone want to come to your city? Again, it boils down to health, safety, and quality of life. If you have those three things, then the likelihood is that people will come. But when you talk to larger billion-dollar companies and want them to come over, there are a few things to remember. What do they look for in your city? Number one, do you have low-cost energy? And I'll give you an example. SunChips in Arizona that city got SunChips because they provided free energy, which was solar energy, to PepsiCo, which is why they established SunChips in Arizona. And so low cost of energy, number one, cheaper cost of transportation of the goods that your city or state or encourages people to come. Number three, which is extremely important, is you need to have a workforce. If I expect that I will call IBM and tell them to manufacture some sensors or some specific kind of condensers in the city of Paris, well, we don't have that kind of workforce in city of Paris. Our workforce is more geared towards blue collar jobs, such as the ones which exist at Campbell Soup, which is food industry, etc., or water related. So not that I'm saying that city doesn't have intelligent people. We have a lot of very intelligent people, but the thing is our workforce is not geared and not trained towards that area. Now, if a big company wants to come, when you are attracting them, unless they are very deeply committed to the fact that they want to come to your town for some particular reason and willing to train people to do that, that's one thing. But otherwise, you have to look for those kind of industries in your town that are supported by the workforce that exists in your town or state or what have you. Number three, how cooperative is your local government or your city government or your county where you're establishing, or for that matter, the state. State of Texas became a very, very friendly state. We have an economic development council for the state, which will see, not only just see what is coming, but will go out of our state and look at other companies in different states. You might think that it's wrong, but we do that. We go to other states and find out and try to attract those companies to our state, which we think will be a good fit. And finally, finally, the last thing that people look is tax abatement, because you can imagine that if you are wanting to invite, I'm just taking an example of PepsiCo. I don't mean to hold PepsiCo, but just as an example, when you're wanting a $1 billion or multi-billion-dollar company to come to your town, you can't tell them that you're going to give $100,000 of tax abatement and expect that they'll be very attracted to that, because they have much better ways of making $100,000 than your 100,000 tax abatement. So when it boils down to the fact that whether you can provide low cost energy, whether you have the workforce available there, and then how cooperative your city, state, and county governments are. And those are the substrates that are required for job creation.
Absolutely. Let me add a quick note. In city of Plano in 1985, the whole country was depressed at that time economically. And the city of Garland, the J.C. Penney from New York wanted to move to city of Garland. The city of Garland said, no, we don't want you guys. We're not going to give you any tax breaks. At that time, the mayor of the city of Plano, who is a friend of mine, he went to J.C. Penney and gave them tax rebates for the land for 5 or 6 years. That was very lucrative for them to come to Texas. And after that, EDS came and city of Plano, Frisco, the whole economy boosted in that area by taking one single action by giving tax rebate to the company. And similarly, the Texas Cowboys Stadium was built in Arlington, Texas, because they gave them the tax rebates. So these are the key things to create jobs. Once a major company moves, jobs are created. Thank you, Dr. Hashmi, for sharing those 3 key points in creating jobs and sustaining them. Thank you very much. And now, Alia, you got some questions?
No, let's open for question and answers, right, to everyone. So I want to give opportunity to the people who are participating, what questions that they have before I think, we ask questions.
Sure. Is it Hamid Munir? Yeah, can you ask the question?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for arranging all this. This is really informative and I really appreciate it. And thank you for all of your service, all of you guys. I'm also trying to get into this field. I love helping people. But there are a couple of things that I do want to ask all these politicians is, one of the things is I'm also an IT engineer, been there for over 20 years of networking experience. But during the pandemic, I also lost my job. And because all the IT jobs are being taken overseas. And they're very less and less. The only way you can find an IT job is if you're part of government contractors, things like that. But other than that, you don't find jobs, and you need to have like a security clearance or top security clearance, things like that too. But aside from that, thank God I was able to find another job. It took me a while, but it's not the ideal, but I have it now. But what I'm saying is all this IT industry and having not just IT industry, you look at accounting, any other firms, they're all
What would
moving.
be your question?
So my question is why all these companies are moving their, like outsourcing their stuff overseas. So what are you guys doing to keep those jobs in-house? because every administration promises the same thing, and we keep seeing the same thing. All the IT jobs, accounting jobs, everything is going overseas.
Puneet, you want to go?
Yeah, I can take that. And this is very important, Muni. This is the reason I said if you think like an American, you are American, you have to create America first mindset, create American jobs. And as Dr. Hashmi said, the businesses or the corporations look at the cost of doing business, what is attractive to them. So hence the reason is if the cost of doing business is cheaper overseas, the free market economy, which is the foundation of this nation, kind of tends to gravitate towards that. But at the same time, you cannot, corporations also have to have certain benefits. That's the reason is reducing the tax structure for them and giving them other incentives to be doing business within United States. And that's one of the reasons when I said is that I'm going to tie the success of Northern Virginia economy with the rest of Virginia, because that $12 or $15 job will go a long way in down south. And secondly, we look at supply chains. Why should we have supply chains in countries like China who are not our friends? We should have supply chains and economic zones within the United States or in parts of Virginia, which will create jobs. And folks like you, Munir, who are technologically savvy and advanced, can take jobs and create that and create those opportunities. And I believe if this is done right, you can create your own business. That's the fundamental aspect here, is that each individual should have the ability to write his destiny or his opportunity through his own hard work. And that ultimately comes from a pro-business environment. Your ability or the government's inability to get out of your way. And that's the reason, less regulation, less imposition of laws and mandates, which kind of chokes a business.
Thank you, Puneet. Dr. Hashmi or Payas Ali, any one of you can respond to that.
I mean, I think the principles to follow are, as Mr. Ahluwalia has said. The only thing that I would probably add is the fact that legislature on this is extremely important. What you have in your state legislature, what you have in your Congress is very important, and laws should be created so that when you are trying to have companies take jobs out of town or out of the country, you create a milieu that they are either supported by the federal government or by the city, state, or local government in some sort of incentive that kind of balances out their expenses and income. And when I say that, I'll bring healthcare for that matter. Healthcare is an extremely expensive expense when you provide health insurance to people. And so if you are expecting to hire people and provide them health insurance and all the benefits that normally American communities and American people who work and have jobs here get, their benefits far outweigh those outside. And so there has to be some way of balancing that, whether you create some sort of legislation that when you are paying for health insurance, that the cost of health insurance don't become so prohibitive that it is easier for me to shut the business down than to provide health care. As Dr. Ahluwalia had said, Mr. Ahluwalia had said in the beginning that the cost of health insurance went up so much that businesses were shutting down or taking, just cutting down on the employees or finding different ways of doing it. So legislature becomes very, very important in it, and not to be partisan on it, but yes, Mr. Trump did try to do things with reference to China in particular. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that all those policies may be right or wrong either way, but the thing about it is major steps need to be taken to make jobs attractive here before they're sent out. It is no different than, we as a minority community, we have all these functions to support, some sort of, organizations in the company where we came from, in the countries that we came back from. Yes, it is important to support that, but charity starts at home first. So one should not forget that.
Yes. Payas, you got a question? Payas, you can add to that. You have to.
Incentives are good, but also making sure that those who work in those companies are giving what I call livable wage, so that you attract people to come to your city to work for them. Because if you have companies and you don't businesses and there are no people to work in those businesses, then they would leave. So you just have to create an environment where both the businesses and the people who work in those businesses are taken care of.
Thank you, Pius. Friends, you're listening to a Zoom meeting on how to run for a public office. We welcome Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. And we are a nonprofit organization. We are open to invite all people from all the three different parties. And today we invited Dr. Hashmi, three-time mayor of Paris, Texas, and aspiring to run for the governor of Texas. And then we have Puneet Ahluwalia, who is running for the lieutenant governor of the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth. And Pius Ali is a councilman in Portland, Maine. I always think Portland, Oregon. So these three gentlemen, you just heard them, and this is a recorded event and it will be posted at the YouTube. All you have to do is go to YouTube and type in Center for Pluralism. Pluralism, by the way, means respecting the otherness of the other in politics, religion, society, culture, ethnicity, and whatever way we are. I thank everyone. And I would ask Alia if you have things to say, or we can ask them a last statement, final statement from our three guests.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I want to thank Brother Hamid Munir for asking an excellent question, and everyone for giving the answers. So I heard talk about tax subsidies, give tax subsidies to the businesses, to the corporation. So as an incentive, so they come to the area and they give employment. And then I also heard Dr. Hashmi to say that really needs to be balanced, right? And there need to be right policies behind that. We cannot just give free incentives, right? Let's say if a company is already making a lot of profit and then they ask for incentives and tax breaks, is like, I don't think that those should be given. But yes, if a company is challenged in a difficult situation, then of course, yes, consider those, but then tie those with also for them to give incentives to the workers, that they have to hire the workers locally and everything. And so all these ideas presented, I appreciate that. That was great. One question I do have is corporation like Amazon. I personally, when they've made profits, like I think 80 times more than they did last year during the pandemic, right? And they're still getting subsidies to say, from local governments or from state governments to say, hey, yes, come to our area and we are going to give you so much subsidy. Right now in this, pandemic, when people are not getting the subsidy. So that subsidy, I look at that subsidy as welfare being given to corporations. Corporations are like, yes, give me more, even though I have so much, give me more, right? So I think we need to be very, very careful in choosing these subsidy programs and giving incentives to which corporation these are being given to. And if we are very much open to giving subsidies and incentives to big corporations who have so much profit and they don't pay any taxes, and on top they are receiving incentives, we should be very much open to giving welfare and subsidy to the people, because it's the people who run the economy. It's not the corporations who run the economy in the end. It's the people. If they will have the money in their hands, if they are treated well, they are, going back to that health safety, right? They will be more productive and they will run the economy so much better. So these are just some of the points that I wanted to make, and I want to open it up. It's 1:21, so we do have time for one other question, possibly just to one certain person, and then we would like to move and guest speakers do their closing remarks.
Let's ask the concluding remarks.
If you don't mind, I have to run. So if you don't mind, I'll take this liberty of just making the first comment. Excellent program. I think I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the comments by all the members were very good. And the last comment by Ms. Khan was very good. You absolutely have to balance the risk when you give incentive to large corporations, particularly that are making money. But by the same token, I would like to remind that job creation is one of the major priorities whenever you're giving incentives. So attachment of job creations to large corporations when you give them incentives is absolutely key. You cannot give just tax incentives and property tax breaks, etc., just for the heck of having them. There needs to be something in return. And the way we structure our deals is that we will give them money for training of workforce. We will give them some tax abatements as far as property is concerned, but unless they meet a minimum job requirement. And if the job requirement is not met, believe it or not, we are used to taking money back from the companies that we have given them. So with that, I'm going to thank, and I have to take a flight now. So if you would excuse me, I'm going to take off.
All right. Thank you very
Safe
much, Dr.
travels.
Hashmi.
Dr. Hashmi, and have a safe flight.
Thank you so much.
Have a safe flight. Good to meet you, Doctor.
Good to meet
Safe
you too.
travels. Okay, Mike, should I go next, I suppose?
Yes, please.
Well, great. Thank you again for having me. And please, Ms. Khan, do share your resume with my friend Mike. And let's see how we can get you employed and get you off the welfare state or the concerns you have. But most importantly, I urge our community and the large successful community which is growing, the South Asian community and all Asian American, especially my African American brother, Pius Ali, participate in the political process. Our presence and our participation is so important because it tells that we are here and we are counted. Our vote matters. I think Pius had said, and Ms. Khan had written that our vote does matter. And whatever your choice is, whatever your calling is, whichever political party you're attracted to, I hope it's to free enterprise system, to growth, freedom, and opportunity. And if you really want to have a first-hand seat, join my campaign, Puneet for LG, Puneet for Lieutenant Governor, or Puneet for LG.com in Virginia. Learn firsthand. I really want volunteers because I am not beholden to corporations. I'm beholden to the people of Virginia. Hence the reason I have this $10 ask. If 1 million people give me $10, we win this election. It's a grassroots movement. And that's what is important. Play a role, learn and understand, and be counted. So this is the only great country where we can come here and not only write our destiny, but also play an active role in leader religious freedom. I thoroughly enjoy doing things with you. Thank you for having me here. And most people don't know he's a lone how do I say, a lone fighter in his own way and his beliefs. And when he called me to say, Puneet, I want you to be on this, I say, you had me at hello, because we have to support each other. It doesn't matter because this is the country about individual freedom. And if his individual freedom can inspire other people, my goal is to help him and everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Puneet. I appreciate your offer. And Mike has my resume anyway, and I do want to say that I am not on welfare, and unemployment is not welfare. So I am managing myself. Unemployment is a right. It's not a welfare at all. And even the welfare is a right, just like to the corporations, they get welfare. People have the right also when they are going through difficult times to be supported by our government. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And let's move on to the closing remarks to our councilman, Pius Ali.
Dr. Mike and everyone, thank you for inviting me. I think I received a text message from a very close friend of mine. And she said that this group is, Dr. Mike is like family to me. Can you please be? And I said, I will do anything for you and everything that will enlighten our community. I think, as I said earlier, everybody who is an immigrant or Muslim or whatever your background is, it is important that you are part of the process. And also our stories, as Brother Puneet said, will only happen in this country where you come as an immigrant and get involved in your community, whether professionally, politically, or whichever way you look at it, and become a very part of that community that you live in. We are the only ones that can do this for our own community. So please get involved. You don't have to be in an elected office. There are many roles that you can play to influence the political process and also the civic process of wherever you live, whether it's a small town or a big town. Just look for what is right for you, what you can do, and be involved. So thank you for
very
having me.
much. Friends, this program is Pluralism in Politics, and it is on every second Sunday of the month, 12 to 1:30. This program is recorded and it will be on the YouTube. All you have to do is type in Center for Pluralism on YouTube, and Puneet, Pius, and Dr. Hashmi, it will be available to you. I will send you the links as soon as we can record it and put it back on the website. And next Saturday, we have, for the Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi community, we have a program called Golden Oldies at 8 p.m. It's old Hindi songs from 50s and 60s, Indian and Pakistani songs. And on next Sunday, we have 30 rights of women, Muslim women. What are their rights given in the Quran and the Islam? And that is part of religious pluralism. And the program on Saturday is cultural pluralism. Today's is political pluralism. We bring people from Republicans, Democrats, and independents. And today we had 2 Republicans and a Democrat. Last week we had 2 Democrats. Thank you very much for all of you. Alia, you want to close?
Thank you so much, Dr. Mike. And again, thank you to all our guest speakers, and thank you to all those who attended. I want to remind them that they can save the chat. It has good information in it. So in order to save that, you just, where you see the file in your chat, just click on the 3 dots, and that will bring up the save chat option for you. So please go ahead and do that before we wrap up, before we close. And again, thank you to everyone and the attendees, our attendees especially. Hopefully, you know, that you got the tips and tricks and that you were really inspired and motivated by our guest speakers. And we will continue to do this every second Sunday of each month, these programs. Thank you so much. And everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Have a good day, all of
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.